Hey peeps. So this cluster F of a spreadsheet here is something I was working on. I've got another one in addition to it. Sort of driving me crazy. My eyes are about to fall off from working on it, but that's sometimes I get in these moods. Hopefully you're not colorblind, but this is a big jumbled mess. But what I'm really looking at here is quarterbacks. Oh, and Microsoft Excel has these stock photos built in now, like this one of these guys. They're pretty funny, I thought. So anyway, here I'm looking at the quarterbacks. Obviously, quarterbacks are the most important position in football by a long shot. In fantasy, they are as well. Now, in DraftKings salary cap, there is, but there isn't. The market here, I believe, is showing, how do I put this? The DraftKings ReignMakers one is showing that there is going to be a pretty big difference between the quarterbacks in terms of value. So it sort of remains to be seen to some degree, but I have been wanting to get like a rare quarterback and stuff like that because you, right now on the rare level, you can play with one core and the rest rare, but I have a feeling they're going to get rid of that and make it where you have to have all rare, because that's what Sorare did with their MLB baseball product. To start off, you could use limited and one common, and then they made it to all limited once people sort of got their cards together. Anyway, let's go through some of this real quick. The ones here are superstars. So more of those can be printed readily in terms of the one pack ones where you get a superstar. But honestly, it's not an incredibly different amount of supply currently. All of these are QB1s except for Flacco, Smith, and Brissett, who are under depth categorization. All these guys are in the showdown games Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. The first showdown games. So the superstar ones are Allen, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, Herbert, and Rodgers. Now, this is how I sort of group the best quarterbacks. Not in that order necessarily, but sort of that whole tier or group. Partially why I came sort of to that amount of them. Well, I looked at last year's DraftKings Millionaire Contest winners, the actual lineups from last year, not the perfect lineup. And of course, that is salary cap based, but virtually all of them were top 13 quarterbacks last year. And I mentioned this in a previous video. There were some really big notable exceptions last year, last season, which were a lot of the running quarterbacks, which normally people on DraftKings obviously love, and they love the PPR monster wide receiver types who can get long touchdowns. But some of those running backs didn't actually come in last year either. So perhaps that was because the salaries were too high on the ones, or not as many people picked them, but just something to keep in mind. So anyway, that was 13. So this goes down to 17. All right. And you can see the names here. I include Tua, Trevor Lawrence on that. Sure, yeah. So the projections I'm using for week one, now this is just week one. Remember, there's contests every week of the NFL season. It's been a little difficult this early on, since I started looking last week, to find some week one DraftKings projections that look fairly updated, so to speak, for free, because I'm not subscribing to any sites right now. It does look like NumberFire has some fairly updated ones, although they have a couple things incorrect, like the Flacco. They have partially Flacco and partially Wilson. So I sort of combined those, and I think the Trubisky was missing, period. No Pittsburgh, so it looked like it would be slotted in here. Anyway, now the whole color coding thing, basically green's the top tier, although because Josh Allen is pretty far above, this is like the 1A tier, but could be considered the top tier, second tier, third tier. That sort of applies across the board here. Now, then the purple would be like the fourth tier. Now, for most of these, the darker one or the worse one is better. That means it's a better deal. Because as you can see here, Josh Allen is the highest projected, the most expensive core, the most expensive rare, the most expensive elite, not the most expensive legend. So one sort of eyeball way to look at this is to look across a guy and see where the colors change and to see where a potential rarity might be. So he's pretty consistent, like Burrow's pretty consistent. But then, and like Kirk Cousins is sort of pretty consistent. But then you got ones that stand out, and some of this is just floor prices of various set, whatever set was the lowest at the time, whatever price. And some of these are gone, I guarantee it. And some of them, it depends on what kind of player you are, what level you're on, as to whether it means a big deal or not. But obviously, like a Tua and a Trevor Lawrence, the cores for 9 and 10 look like a very good relative value to me. Okay. One thing we're going to look at. Okay, so let's just look at the tiers real quick. They got him that. Then they got Lamar, Mahomes, Murray, Hurts, and Herbert. Sort of a separate tier. Then you got these guys, including Tua, here. Then this tier actually goes all the way down to Matt Ryan. Includes Winston, Tannehill, Justin Fields, Wentz, and Daniel Jones, and Lawrence and Cousins, which I'm not sure how Cousins is there. I haven't checked actually all the matchups for week 1. Wait, they're playing Green Bay, right? So that's might be why he's a little low. People think Green Bay has a good defense. Okay, so when you check those out as how many fantasy points on the core price you're paying. Now here the red are the two worst. It's Stafford and Allen, but they are both showdown. They're the first showdown contest. So people are paying up for those. People want to be in that contest. As far as the other showdown ones, okay, they're paying up for Geno Smith based on his projection. That could be off, but he's never been a big fantasy monster. But then if you look at the other showdown ones, which I just marked here in blue, Tom Brady, Dak, and Russell Wilson, they're all sort of in line with other players. So those aren't being bought up yet. So if you're looking to do a showdown play, those on the core, this is only looking at the core, those could potentially be good buys. The best one here looks to be Mitch Trubisky, but that's because that one's $5. So it's like a $1 difference can make a lot on these types. But then the ones in yellow, Daniel Jones, Wentz, Tannehill, Mariota, even Flacco, and Davis Mills. Those are probably like the best, what's considered the best points per cost. On the top ones, Lamar. Lamar's cheap on a lot of these. Aaron Rodgers, Tua. Trey Lance, Cousins. Those are some of the better bargains. The rest of them sort of fall in line in the middle range. Now, when you talk this group right here, I was wanting a rare quarterback because I didn't have one. And I bought 2 Elevate packs. I have a video about the Elevate core packs, the $40 packs. They have a guaranteed rare and elite. I have a video on that from yesterday. It turns out there's only a 2% chance to get one from those, just like there's only a 2% chance from the booster packs to get a rare quarterback one. So if you don't have one and you want one, well, the pack costs $40. So depends on how much you're wanting to spend. Now, these 2 are probably gone. If they aren't, and you are looking for one, I would recommend snatching one of those, obviously at your own risk. Tua for $50, Trevor Lawrence for $43, just on a relative basis. Also, Aaron Rodgers for $67 and Carr for $65. Of course, he is a superstar card. So remember, the superstar cards, you can only use one of them per pack. That actually is more the drawback than the supply issue. And here you can see the showdown ones where they compare on that as well. Like if you're looking at relative ones there. Well, at the time, I think I had about 50 or 60 bucks in my account, but I don't think those prices were there after I bought the Elevate packs. So I decided, so I was really going through these guys debating, and maybe I focused too much on week one, but I decided to buy off the market a Matt Ryan. And it was higher than that. I think it was a little bit over $30. So it actually kind of ticks me off that I could get it cheaper now, and that he is one of the cheapest. I don't think Winston was that cheaper. I would have got him. I mean, I don't think he was very close. But that's the situation I'm in. And I know a lot of people are sort of middle budget people and venturing in, and then you go into the higher levels, and it gets much, much higher. But rare to me is definitely a sweet spot versus core right now in general, when you look at the contests and stuff like that, if you can get stuff cheap. And there aren't that many of these cards out there, period. I have this on the other spreadsheet, but these numbers will go up as more people come in and as they issue more cards and possibly sets, going forward. Now, hopefully DraftKings won't be issuing many sets until things sell out. But on the cores, you're looking, this is a rough estimate, somewhere between 2,600, but these are more likely what's out there, probably currently. So 2,600 to 4,800 cards out there. On the rares, 300 to 770. On the elites, something like 80 to 115 of each quarterback. On the legends, something like 19 to 20, and generally one on the Reignmakers. That gives you sort of a multiplier of the supply, which is down here. Okay, so some of this is on the other sheet, but summary of it is rares are around 6 times as rare as a core. Elites are 8 times as rare as a rare. Legends are 4 times as rare as an elite. Reignmakers are 20 times as rare as a legend. There's also field pass ones. Only 5 quarterbacks have those, which is Allen, Jackson, Mahomes, Herbert, and Burrow. So it's not the same as the superstar ones. And what these are were sort of like season passes they sold early on to early adopters. And they got benefits at the time, but to give them value going forward, DraftKings has weekly contests that you get to enter if you hold one of these. So basically a free entry into it only for holders of this on a snapshot day. You can look it up on the site. And if you have a rare, you get entry into both these. If you have an elite, you get entry into all these. Plus, I also think there's other things they have in mind during the season for people who hold the field passes. Point of the field passes is you have to figure out for yourself how much premium you want to pay over the regular. If you can find these for very close to the prices of the regular, you should go ahead and buy that if you were planning on buying that. The only ones on here that stood out right now are actually these Josh Allens, if the prices are still there. You have to debate how much that these are worth on a premium. But for example, Josh Allen's cheapest rare was like 190, but his field pass rare was 210. Same thing with this elite. Now, of course, when you get into these areas, the markets are less and less liquid as you go up, and there's less and less of them. So some things can be out of whack more and more. And if you need to sell stuff, you might have more and more difficulty. So there's pros and cons to that. But his field pass elite was $1,500. His cheapest elite was $1,330. His field pass legend was $4,450, and that actually was his cheapest legend available. So there would be no reason to buy any of the other sets ones if it's the same. That's a clear advantage. The other ones like that I saw were the Burrow elite field pass was $925, and his regular was $800, or the cheapest elite. And his legend was $3,450, and and that actually was the cheapest one there too as well. So when there's a field pass, it's around the same price, or you have to determine how much premium to put on them. Remember, you're getting how many NFL game weeks are there this year? Like 27? No, I'm just joking, but you're getting into that contest every week, and those contests have minimum payouts and all that. So you can see how much it can be worth to you. I got one of these for like $3 more on a really good skill player than the basics were going for, and it's already doubled. Now, I haven't been able to sell mine. I wanted to sell it to reallocate the money, but okay. And as far as the Reignmakers, those are basically one-in-ones that are, I believe, auctioned off or in one-of-one packs, maybe randomly. And they're pretty much all gone, I think. And the ones that are here, though, don't even have a Reignmaker yet, which means they're probably going to be issuing like a Lamar, a Mahomes, a Murray. I don't know all the bonuses that go with that. I assume there's a lot, other than just the prestige of owning a one-in-one, which is quite a bit of prestige in the NFT type world. As a collectible too, and being the first set that DraftKings ever put out, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a wide variety on these of prices because there's only one. For example, on this Field Pass Reignmaker, only two of them had Field Pass Reignmakers, Josh Allen and Mahomes. Well, this one's offered at $65,000. This one's offered at $1.5 million. But some of the cheaper, let's see, why did I highlight that one? Can't remember. I can't remember why I highlighted those. I'm not going to keep resorting this page. Just wanted to give you a gist of where you can look for bargains at and what the relatives are. When you go to this average, now down here, averages, okay? So the average fantasy points projected on here for DraftKings that first week is about 18. So you can see that does cover that group, actually down to 15 quarterbacks. The average price of a core, $13.11. The average points per dollar is 168. So you can see, like, if it's below that, it's not as good a deal. But that basically, the top quarterbacks are above that, and particularly Allen and Stafford. So what you can also gather from the showdown things is cards will rally going into the showdowns, and they probably will come down after that, especially for flipper type people. And we haven't seen as much movement yet in the Brady and the Dak and the Russell Wilson. We have seen some, but not as much. On the rares, the average is 75 of all these 32 quarterbacks. On the elites, it's 578. On the legends, it's a little over 2,500. On the Reignmakers, it's close to 39,000. On the Field Pass cores, it's 65. On the Field Pass rares, it's 175. On the Field Pass elites, it's 1,100. Field Pass legends, it's 4,800. And the Field Pass Reignmaker, it's 780,000. Here were the other quarterbacks in QB1 that don't really have projections for the first week. Zach Wilson may possibly be ready for week one, but probably not. But he may be coming back early in the season quickly to replace Flacco. But we don't really have projections. There are his prices. Deshaun Watson's supposed to, is suspended for 12 games? Pickett possibly could come in for Trubisky fairly soon, depending on how they do. Lock for Geno Smith. Darnold was a QB1, but Baker has won that job for the time being. Here's their prices as well. They do have Reignmakers on Zach Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and Kenny Pickett if you want one. They also have elites on those. And the Deshaun Watson one's 100,000 and the other one's 2,000, which just shows you when there's an illiquid market in one or not many for sale, people can price it however they want. Maybe somebody will buy it. You never know. Could possibly be somebody playing a little joke or just putting a crazy number like people do. I think there's a 666 number on here. Well, like here, there's a 4444 was lowest Russell. And then there was a 3333 was lowest Mahomes. Okay, so the multiplier. This is an estimate, again, of the supply multiplier of each one to the next rarity up. And here's the price multipliers of those averages. And you can see they're pretty in line. I mean, people are smart, and markets, a lot of these online market type stuff, they fall into line pretty quick. So that's why you got to be quick to jump in, especially if you're a flipper trader type person, to jump in on the opportunities. It's obviously hard if you can't monitor it 24 hours a day. And I'm not the kind of person who uses bots or anything like that, or don't even know how to. But they're sort of prevalent on a lot of other things, and hopefully they're not on this. That would be really bad, or could be bad. I've jumped in and got before at low prices, so it doesn't seem like there are yet. But so these are pretty in line, you can see. So that's sort of logical. This one's out of line. The Field Pass Rares. Probably because of this one, but no, in general. There's not giving that much premium to these, even versus the rarity. I'm sorry, they're not giving much premium on Field Pass Rare versus Field Pass Core based on rarity, okay? Based on rarity, this should cost 6 times as much as this. Kind of like 75 is 6 times as much as 13. So if these are going for 60, so either these are overpriced or these are underpriced. And based on this, it looks like, actually, that actually looks like the cores are overpriced because the elites have the same ratio to the rares. So that actually looks like these are overpriced, relative basis. I was trying to think if there's anything else on these here. So Derek Carr doesn't have a legend card for whatever reason. I don't know if that's an omission or they're going to put one out. Sept doesn't have an elite. I know a lot of you. Oh, there's a 666 one. Geno Smith's elite, lowest price was 666. We need some 69s out there if you guys want to do that. There's a 690. Brissett, I mean, I'm not really crying. I can't buy his elite. Oh, man, it's a bummer. Now, if you're like me and you don't want to spend a ton on and get a rare quarterback or even an elite quarterback versus trying to get lucky in a pack and you want a quarterback on that rarity, because there are only, 32 of them and pretty much only maybe 25 good ones or decent and really only, 17 that could be really strong. I mean, but if you think some of these guys can pop in there this year or multiple weeks a year, I mean, I definitely think Winston can, but some people there's various ones, so you sort of have to decide, are any of these Mac Jones? Look how beaten down he is for week 1. Goff. Some people like the Lions. I personally, after watching Hard Knocks, I think their coaching staff's a bunch of morons. I mean, especially Dan Campbell's a bunch of morons, and they're sort of old school, and that doesn't really work in today's NFL. I think they won 3 games last year. His career record's like 8-20. But everybody loves him because he's a big alpha male, yelling, macho, cool guy. That doesn't translate, Look at the Sean McVay model. I mean, that dude hires guys who he had like an assistant quarterbacks coach who went to University of Kentucky last year and was our offensive coordinator and led us to like our greatest offensive season ever, and then went back to McVay's staff. Not to say all McVay's, everything he does is perfect, but that's the model to be going for. If you watch the Hard Knocks Lions, I didn't hear the word analytics, tendencies, strategy, any of that stuff mentioned at all. I heard grit, tough, kick his ass, that kind of stuff. There is that in football, but there's a reason some franchises are losers for forever. Anyway, Baker Mayfield has potential to me. Trubisky, Matt Ryan, I said, is the one I ultimately decided on. Winston, I just can't do Tannehill. Fields not proven to me. Hey, Wentz, I always get tempted by. Daniel Jones, I'm not buying really. I am buying Trevor Lawrence to be in this group this year. I'd be surprised if he doesn't, but you never know. 2 is getting a lot of hype. Matt Stafford's underrated in general, in my opinion, fantasy-wise. Derek Carr's underrated, but when you look at these projected week 1 points, then maybe he's not. So, like I said, you sort of have to decide because these might go up, but probably in the $30 to $40 range, you'll still be able to get one. They might go up to 50. I mean, it's hard to say. Same thing here. I'm not on that level yet, but So, and obviously, in any given week, anybody can come in and hit 3-4 touchdowns, especially to one wide receiver, for example. And if you have that stacked, you're looking good. I'm not going to go too much into this right now, some of this other stuff, but just to sum up here, I talk a little bit more about this on the other spreadsheet, but I don't have time to go into it on this one. In terms of the minimums that are paying out in the contest and the current overlays and the bankroll boosters. But I'll just leave it at this, because you can work out some of this stuff for yourself. The core bankroll booster is $5. The rare bankroll booster is $20. The elite is $100. The legend is $500, and the Reignmakers is $2,000. And actually, the multiplier on this, so this is 4 times that, but it's about 6 times rare. This is 5 times that, but it's about 7 times rare. This is 4 times that, which is actually in line. And this is, I believe, 20 times, wait. Yeah, I believe these are 20 times rarer, and that's only 4 times the payout. Okay, so just another quick thing to look at. And I sort of mentioned this in the first video, talking about those last year's millionaire winners on DraftKings. And I did a calculation as if you bought all the top quarterbacks, all the top running backs, all the top wide receivers, and tight ends. It basically added up to 300, and it added up to $1,000 on the first level, like 5,000 on the next level, and it was very sort of 5,000 to 6,000. I believe it was, I can't remember the next one, but it was a bigger group than this though. But because some of these prices have gone up. But looking at those top 17, they're at 300. And it's almost like DraftKings planned it in a way that if you wanted to cover one each of like a good amount of the top players, it would cost about $1,000. And then the rares, buying the top 17 would be $1,750 on this, the $13,000 for the elites, $57,000 for the legends, and $400,000 for the Reignmakers. And if you look at that multiplier, 6, just like that, 7 falls in line, 4 and 8. This one's a bit. I mean, the Reignmaker ones are so crazy, the pricing. And then the field pass ones, if you wanted to buy all the 5 of those, 300, 900, 5,500, 24,000, 1.5 million. That's all. All right, guys, I'm going to stop on this one for today. I know it's sort of a big mess, and you can do your own things, but it's trying to give you some idea of where the different ones fall on the different parameters and sort of what tiers. And it's easy to get the good ones on the cores on a real dollar basis. Starts getting different, more here, where there's $40 difference between one of these on versus like on a $5 difference on an actual dollar basis. On a percentage basis, it's maybe the same. Same thing here. Like, first off, these were huge bargains if you're going on that level. Even though that's a superstar. Kirk Cousins for $560 versus Trey Lance for $980. Even Herbert for $610. Lamar Jackson for $690. Lamar Jackson for $100 here even. It's not that much of a steal, but Lamar Jackson for $14. Derek Carr for $0. No, I'm just kidding. Now, this is because there's not many of these. Again, probably like 100 of them. That's it. That's all that I think exists right now, somewhere along the lines of that. So when you have that, you're going to see big market discrepancies, and not everybody has $600 sitting in their account ready to go. But these are the kind of things you want to keep an eye peeled if you're doing stacks, if you're trying to cover certain quarterbacks, or even if you want multiples of the same. I know some people probably are loading up on Herberts or whatever to kind of keep an eye peeled for that. All right, I'm going to let this one go. It's been a long video. Thanks for checking out. And also check out my referral code on there if you're signing up. Or I don't know if you could send me gifts on DraftKings, but like you can on Top Shot and stuff. But I appreciate the comments you guys are putting on the videos and that you're watching them, and hopefully keep trying to come up with some interesting content for it as long as I'm enjoying doing it. Have a good one.